Bundys Garage, John Bundy here. Today we're working on a 2011 Hyundai Elantra Touring, and we are doing the front brakes on this. These are original pads. It's only got about 30,000 miles on this vehicle, so I'm going to show you how to change them out. I'm not going to do the rotors because I'm assuming that they will be fine, and I'm only going to do the passenger or the driver's side. Passenger side would just be a repeat of the driver's. It's a plastic cover that sits on the rim. It doesn't pop off. You don't stick a screwdriver back here. It's actually held on by the lug nuts, so just take note of that. Don't take a screwdriver and try to pop this off because you'll break it apart. And it's a 21 millimeter. If I can find it. Dude, those were not very tight at all. So you want to loosen these lug nuts up before you jack it up in the air, otherwise you're not going to get them off. So go around, loosen up all 5, and then come back and get your jack and raise it up in the air. One thing you want to do, just for safety reasons, is chalk the back tires. Go ahead, I have a red chalk that I'm using, but you can use a piece of wood, a brick, just to make sure that the car doesn't roll back on you. Right behind the driver's side wheel, you'll see a steel lip almost. This is where the 2 body panels come together. This is the only place you want to jack up the vehicle to raise the front. So I'm going to go ahead and lift this up, get the front wheel off the ground, and then remove the tire the rest of the way. So just continue to take off all the lug nuts. After that, the wheel will be free and you can just pull that off. The next thing you need to do is remove the bolts for the brake caliper. One sits right here, and the other one sits right there. They're 13 millimeter, righty tighty, lefty loosey, and they'll come right off. If I can even get it on there. Whoops. Okay, top one's loose. At the same time, left and right hand, and just walking them out. And the caliper should be ready to pop out. With the brake caliper out of the way, you regain access to the brake pads. You just slide out like this. Now when you pull these out, take note, one has a steel tab and one doesn't. So you want to see if it's the inner one or the outer one, and it looks like it's going to be the inner pad. And there it is. It sits right there on the bottom. Yeah. So it's your inner pad facing down. The rotor here isn't scratched or gouged on either side. So unless you want to take it off and have it turned, you can. But I'm just going to put in new pads. I just took out the old pads. I want to stick the new ones in. And like before, there's little tabs. There's a little bracket here on the bottom to just slide into place. If I can get it to slide into place. There you go. The key to this would be to push it from the back to the front. There's a little spring tension on there. So if you push it at an angle and lay it in flat, it'll slide right in. Next, we're going to push the piston back inside the caliper. But before I do that, I'm going to remove the cap on the brake reservoir bottle, so that it gives it room to expand, I want to say, because as you push this back, the brake fluid in here will go back into the reservoir, and if you don't do it, you run the chance of ruining the seal or popping the cap off and having brake fluid go everywhere and ruin your paint. So go ahead, just remove your cap for your brake reservoir and just place it off to the side. To turn the piston back, I'm going to take one of the old brake pads and I'm going to put it into place here, just so I use it as a buffer because I don't want to mar this surface on the piston at all. So if you don't have a pad, you can use a piece of wood. I have a 4-inch C-clamp here. I'll just put one in on the back of the caliper and just collapses down until it's all the way flush, seated back inside. Just go a little bit, go slowly. You don't want to hammer this thing down all at once. Just turn a little bit. Fluid does have to flow around in there and go back up to the brake reservoir. So just take your time. You don't have to go ultra slow, but you don't want to go super fast either. With the 4-inch C-clamp, I was able to get to the back of the brake caliper right here on the edge, but it didn't push the piston in all the way. So what I'm going to do, I moved up to a 6-inch C-clamp, and I'm going to place the back here on the back of this bolt, and then to the brake pad, and then that should collapse it 100%. So I'm on the back of the banjo bolt for the brake fluid, and I'm just finishing up on the front to push the piston all the way. And there it is. With the piston pushed back in the caliper, I'm going to go ahead and slide this back in. The brake hose will only let you put this in one way. So just slide that in there and slide that there. Right here, I don't know if you guys can see it, right here there's a little pin that the bolt connects to, or there's a nut right here on the end of a pin, and then the bolt goes to the back side of the caliper. You need the bolt to line up with the nut, and then when you secure the bolt back into the caliper, you have to hold this nut. When you put the bolt back into the caliper, there's a nut right here, and that is a 17mm nut, so you need to hold it with a wrench and tighten the 13mm bolt down. I'll show you how to do that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and put both of the bolts back in, get them lined up, and then I'll show you how to torque it down. So there's one started. You might have to push up on the caliper a little bit for it to line up, and go ahead and start these in by hand. You don't want to run the risk of cross-threading them. So those are both down. They're finger tight. So now I'm going to get my 17mm wrench, put it on the nut right here. Come in here on the other side with your 13mm socket. And go ahead and tighten it down. Alright. Now you need to do the same to the bottom. Oh, it's stuck. The wrench I used is too wide. The head's too wide, so as I tighten this down, it actually got stuck on here. So I'm going to have to loosen this back up and find another wrench that I have that's a little bit more narrow. So, just so you guys know, from my mistakes, you don't make the same mistakes. So let me find a different wrench. The 17mm wrench I was using to hold this nut was too wide, so when I tightened down the caliper bolt, it was getting stuck in there. What I had to find and use is a 6-inch adjustable wrench, crescent wrench. And what I'm going to do is just go right here on the first side. I don't want to go in too deep with this, because as the farther I go in, the wider it becomes. So then I'll hold it right there, and then come on the other side, tighten down the 13mm. And slide it off. And you're good. You're tight. Alright, then the next step will be to do the lower bolt, and then go ahead and do the passenger side as well. One thing to note, once you do the passenger side, and after you've collapsed the piston, is double check the brake reservoir for brake fluid. And then before you drive this thing, or make sure you top off the brake reservoir, put the cab back on, and then before you drive this anywhere, pump the brake pedal 15 to 20 times, just so that you're able to get rid of all the extra room that's in the piston now. As you can see here on the caliper, I can have, there's play on it, sliding back and forth, and that's because the piston inside there hasn't extended. So when you push the brake pedal 15 to 20 times, it'll actually push the piston out, pushing up against the brake pads, and then locking the caliper in place. So make sure you do that before you drive anywhere. Alright, as always, please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll keep rolling the automotive repair videos for you guys.